Hi, kids.
Hey, kids.
We're back. And Chris can explain to you the movie we chose for our second classic movie.
Casablanca. Classic from 1942. It won Oscars for Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Screenplay.
It was filmed in Hollywood. A lot of people think it was filmed in Casablanca. No. Hollywood creation. So, diving in?
Diving in.
We, at the suggestion of our favorite daughter-in-law, are a bit more sober this time.
Speak for yourself.
Okay. There were themes, a lot of themes in this movie, but one of the biggest was about moral conflict. There was some choices, there was love choices that would have been good and bad, and then also political choices.
Correct. And I'll be quite honest, like I've said before, this movie was, you had to read into it, actually watch the movie to find out what was going on.
But we did watch the movie.
We did watch the movie. I didn't watch the movie.
Okay, I'm going to start with, I think, let's talk about the neutrality. So this was filmed in 1941, right before we were dragged into World War II. And they tried to parallel how the U.S. was, I think, with, well, the characters, I guess I should go. Rick's Cafe, Rick was played by Humphrey Bogart, and Ilsa, not from Frozen, was played by Ingrid Bergman.
And they were in a neutral place.
The Casablanca at this time was a French territory, but it was not taken by Germany yet, so it was a safe harbor for people to try to get to America or to flee to safety. But you couldn't just go from Europe to America. Casablanca was a place you had to go through that was neutral and then gain passage out of Casablanca to Portugal, which was
with special paperwork.
Transit papers.
Which cost a lot of money.
Yeah, very key to this movie, trying to get hold of the transit papers. As much as people were happy to be in Casablanca and away from the Germans, they all wanted to get out of Casablanca, and there was a longing to go to America. Almost everyone mentioned America except for the Nazis. And if they did, it probably wasn't good.
Really?
So, Rick is very neutral in the beginning. He refuses to discuss politics. He won't have drinks with his patrons.
As we promised, we wouldn't talk as long about this movie as we did
Lauren also said to make it short.
Daughter-in-law.
Cool. Daughter-in-law. Favorite daughter-in-law. We're working on making it short. So, like the U.S., FDR, Rick was very neutral, but you could tell he was harboring something. He was
angry. Yeah,
angry, and he didn't have a lot of pleasantries with anybody. And it even was filmed shadowy and dark, I think, at that time.
The only emotion he had was anger.
Yes. And the reason he didn't drink with his patrons is he didn't want to be seen...
happy?
No, well, yeah, but sitting with Germans or sitting with Jewish or sitting with anybody who took a side. So he wanted to just be a bar owner, and that is it.
Fast forward to the movie.
Yeah. Ingrid Bergman walks in, Ilsa. And you can tell there's a shift between the two of them. And she walks in with a tall, handsome man. That would have been Laszlo. And he was played by Paul Heinried. I didn't know who he was. What do we want to say about that? Well, then there's a flashback to them in Paris.
Isla and Laszlo are married.
Yes. We don't... do we know that? You kind of figure that out. There's certainly a couple. There's a flashback. He asked Sam to play as time goes by. Sam doesn't want to play it, but Sam plays it on the piano. He's the piano player who is a symbol of...
Did we mention that Isla and...
Well, we're really confusing people on this one. There's a flashback. And Rick and Isla are in love in Paris, and it's filmed light and funny, and they're having a great time, and they just want to go to southern France to get away from the Germans who are invading deeper and deeper into France all the time. And that's when the first line comes out, "Here's looking at you, kid," because they agree to not talk about each other's past and they keep it light. So their toast is,
"Here's looking at you, kid."
When they go to run away to southern France, she doesn't show up at the train station. He gets a note. There's no explanation really on the note as to why she didn't come. She just said that it was too dangerous to go on your own. And that's how he ends up eventually in Casablanca. He stops taking sides in the war, and he just becomes a cynical bar owner. But then she walks back in to his gin joint.
Yep. Out of all the gin joints.
She walked back in. Well, what we learn is actually the moral of the story, so we'll just get to it. That neutrality is hard. And when he delves in further to her story and they actually talk, she does love him. She thought her husband was dead. He had been taken to a concentration camp. But he fought his way out, and he's a very good man, and he is fighting an anti-Nazi cause, and he's well-connected, and he has good plans, and they really want to get to America to let the Americans know what's going on in Germany and the truth in the concentration camps. But Ilsa's still in love with Rick, and she wants to run away with Rick. So I don't know if we should say the ending or not, but he has a moral dilemma, because I guess what we failed to mention was through a lot of different ways, Rick ends up with 2 tickets out of Casablanca, and he can take Ilsa, and they can flee to Portugal and then to America together, and that's what his heart wants. But he's not as good of a man, well, for the cause, for the anti-Nazi cause.
Oh, yes.
He's a good man, and he can make his heart and himself happy, but her husband has...
I still think it was more... She wanted to stay.
She wanted to be with Rick. Her heart was with Rick, but the cause, obviously, an anti-Nazi cause, saving the world, was very important.
Correct.
We left out a lot of characters. It's a great movie. I recommend it. It's a good history lesson.
But I will say, going into this movie, I would, if you're like me, action-packed movies that don't take a lot of thinking.
This is not that one.
This is not that one, so you may want to read up on them.
You also need to know World War II history, who the players are. I mean, not just the Germans and the Americans, but there's a lot of other countries mixed into Casablanca and different nationalities with different opinions. And there's the French, and they're being overrun by the Germans, and it's kind of neat to see how that happens.
Right.
And Casablanca is no longer French. I mean, now it's all, it's in its Islamic state. So it's weird how the world has changed. Very interesting movie, I thought.
And very good acting.
Good acting. Yes. So much more to say. But Lauren, daughter-in-law, we're keeping it short.
So here's looking at you, kid.
Love you.
Love you.